Welcome to Ignite Success, where we meet with successful business owners to uncover their path, what worked, the pitfalls. And today we have Nancy Fox with us, all the way from Los Angeles, from Fractional Connections. Welcome, Nancy.
Hey, Wendy, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be with you.
So in preparing to meet with you today, I spent some time on your website. It is fantastic. For those of you who have a moment, head over to Fractional Connections. Nancy's website is clear, clean, easy to read. And I spent a lot of time on the web, so it's awesome. I came away with one question. What is a fractional executive?
Well, that's what kicked this whole thing off. It was very interesting, Wendy. I was in my networking groups. I started to see that there was the emergence of these folks who were defining themselves as fractional executives. And I was curious. I started to find out a little bit more about that, and I started to dig in. I started to do some research on the web, and the Wall Street Journal had published this article a number of months ago about how there was the rise of the white-collar gig economy, and that it was an emerging trend, and it was exploding. And what I noticed was that a lot of executives were, the pandemic definitely accelerated this, but it had been brewing before. There were a lot of very talented, very highly educated, very highly skilled executives who were becoming disenchanted with their careers. It was really quite shocking. They were bored. They didn't feel that they had enough variety in their career. They didn't feel that they had enough autonomy. They didn't have enough freedom, that their companies were boxing them in. They weren't able to contribute in the ways that they would really like. And they felt very much like they were in paycheck prison. So
I like that, paycheck prison. That's awesome.
They were.
I mean, not a good place to be, but an interesting way of describing that feeling of, golden handcuffs or whatever the other terms are. Paycheck prison is a really good one.
Yeah, they felt very owned by the company. They felt locked in, that they had no ability to move or to do things that they really wanted to or could do. So many of them were choosing to leave. And it was, in the past, they were let go. But now they were choosing to leave for a variety of reasons, as I just mentioned. But also they now had the means to leave and to choose a different path. And I realized that I myself had been a fractional executive. I had done a number of assignments for accounting firms and law firms where I went in and spent several days a week in the firms, almost as if I was part of the family, leading their teams, leading the professionals in learning development, in business development, in networking skill development. And I was actually their business development advisor. I was their executive around this. There wasn't an existing executive in the firm, so I became that on a partial time basis. So to answer your question, a fractional executive is a partial time executive. He or she is not a consultant because they're not going in, assessing, analyzing, giving advice, and walking away. They're actually in an organization on a partial time basis and actually leading a department, a division, a team in an area of the company that really needs it. So it's particularly meaningful for startups and for growth businesses, small to medium-sized businesses in a growth phase, but they can't really afford a full-time person.
Understood. And I absolutely agree with you that I am seeing a growth in this area even now, post-COVID, where a lot of people have been called back to the office and have said, I don't want to go back to the office. I can make just as much money working from home for 3 companies as I did commuting for 1. So I definitely see that as an area continuing to grow. And so Fractional Connections is an area that fractional executives come together then, Nancy, to share experiences and network?
The first piece of it, well, when we first started looking at what the needs and what the opportunities were, we realized that there was opportunity on both the fractional executive side and also on the business ownership side. And here's why. Business owners who are growing, their first reaction when they have when their companies are growing and they need talent is to go hire a full-time person, or to not hire anybody and to just take on more responsibility themselves. Neither of those are really viable financially, or just for the success of the company. They don't really
Yeah.
know a lot about fractional executives yet. So we see that we
Right,
really
right.
need.
And so, Nancy, I'm so sorry. I have to stop you right there because I think this is a really interesting point that our viewers need to understand, that where your business is now, a fractional executive might be exactly what you need. So I'm going to close with saying, anybody out there that is either a growth business needing that person, or the executive wanting to see if this is a good switch up for your life, I highly recommend you get in touch with Nancy Fox. She understands this piece of the world. So a huge thank you to Nancy for being with us today.
Thank you, Wendy. I just want to also say that the website, in case you want to look, is fractionals.ai. And we're happy to have you ask us questions. We've got a place on there to send us questions, so please feel free.
Fantastic. That was Ignite Success Today with Nancy Fox of Fractional Connections. I am Wendy Barlin, your host. We'll see you next time.